policy and what we can kind of do in the industry as a whole. So I want to welcome Marie Busck, Chief Sustainability Officer from Danish Fashion and Textile, and Heidi Svane, Head of Digital at Lifestyle and Design Cluster. Round of applause.
Næste slide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I need to get a slide producer to do this for me. I feel like I'm not doing my job properly with the slides here. Any volunteers? Okay. Guys, let's dive into it. Marie, I feel like this is very timely. You have something that you are just now started talking about, this new action plan for the Danish fashion industry. Let's just get into it. Maybe talk about your organization just briefly, and what is this action plan?
Okay, so just briefly, DMT, Danish Fashion and Textile, is an organization similar to Finnish Fashion and Textile. So I do more or less the same as Emilia does. So just a few days ago, we launched a national action plan for textiles in Denmark. Thank you.
Wow.
And just before, just to explain what it is, it's something that we've been working on for the past year or so. Getting input from partners in terms of what are the necessary activities to drive the transformation of the Danish industry. So the EU textile industry and the regulatory framework that we've just spoken about is the backbone, the framework, and these are concrete activities. What is it that needs to happen in Denmark in order to support the Danish industry? So it spans different levels of activities. So it spans, of course, capacity building and support to the industry, particularly small and medium-sized companies. But it also covers education and capacity building of consumers in order to know more about textile and their behavior and their consumption. It also points to political activities that can be done, so green public procurement, reduction in fees for repair, etc. So it points to different things that can be done in order to drive the change.
Can you talk a little bit about the process leading up to this, the kind of the insights you have gathered as an organization when talking to the industry? Why have you ended up with this action?
So again, we know we have all this regulation coming, so I think from our perspective it has been, what can we do as a country in Denmark? We don't need to introduce more new legislation in Denmark, but what kind of activities can we do in order to support that Denmark stays ahead and contributes to this development? So that's one thing. Then I think it's a recognition that the change is a system change. So as a business, as an industry, we can do so much, but we do need the right legal framework. We do need the right incentives as an industry. We do also need to much more innovation, need much more research. And we also need support for the consumers. So it's a recognition that the fact that this is, pointing to the title, there's a need for collaboration, system collaboration, in order to try to drive the change. And one final thing I will mention is that over the past few years, we've had many projects in Denmark, many research projects, many activities. Very often they are, has a durance of 2 years, 1 year, 6 years, 5 years. I can also mention some of the ones that are better. So for instance, we have a collaboration on, it's called the voluntary sector collaboration, where you as a company can sign up to circular goals. It's a great collaboration, but that's again one collaboration, and we need something that can tie together to make sure that the information that is, or the learnings that we have from the different projects, are used in the next project. So that there are different reasons that I have pointed or led to us saying, okay, but then let's make a plan for Denmark, where each and every one of the corners of society contributes to the vision, or shared vision and a shared goal.
So how much of this is realizing that the industry can't do this themselves? They need support somehow. They need a support system. They need research. They need knowledge. Talk about that a little bit.
The fashion industry is very diverse. So I think one tool, one guide, one project, one regulatory instrument cannot solve it all.
Mm.
So I think the complexity in the change that is needed has is has been something that we've discussed for many years, and that's why different elements of support is needed for the industry. So yes, for instance, we need more knowledge about how to collect textiles, how to sort textiles, how to recycle textiles. That's one thing. We need to know more about consumption behaviors, consumer behaviors, in order to drive what's just talked about. You know, how do you use the data in order to understand the consumer better, to build new business models? So different levels of more information is needed in order again to drive the change that we want to see.
You're calling it an action plan. Sounds very actionable. What's the outcome? What's the ask here? What do you hope this will achieve? This action plan.
We hope that it will achieve two funding and political support. So it comprises that's a financial ask, and it's not ask for financials to the industry as such. It's a ask to support different projects. It's a ask to more research and innovation. It's a ask to support green public procurement and how the public sector can support this transitioning. So it's support again, and it's support to capacity building of consumers. So it's not support to us, the industry, but it's support to societal as a whole in order to drive the change. So just to manage expectation, it's a policy document that is directed towards politicians. So it's a short document. It doesn't details everything because it has to be short and sweet in order to our goal or the authorities to actually to read it. Then it also comes with another call, and that is we see that when we engage with politicians, the whole transitioning of the industry talks into environment, the environmental department, but also the climate department, the financial department. So we need more cross-sectoral collaboration at the policy level in order, again, to find the right support. Another thing that we also are calling for is better enforcement. So yes, we do welcome the legislation, but we also call for much more granular, much more strong enforcement of both existing regulation, but indeed also the coming regulation.
Let's get back to talking about collaboration. I want to bring in Heidi, of course. Just begin by describing yourself and your organization, but you also have stuff cooking that will help support the industry. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, and welcome everybody. It's great to see so many faces here. I can't wait for the break to talk to everybody. My name is Heidi, and I work with Lifestyle and Design Cluster. We are a national business cluster out of Denmark, and we support fashion, furniture, and design companies in staying innovative. And like you say, it's a very diverse industry with very many needs, big, small companies. Some produce local, some produce away. So a lot of different needs, but what's common and where we come into place is that these challenges are not something that everybody can fix themselves. They don't have the competencies, they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough funding. We really try to be that partner for the industry to raise funding, as in money and hours and help and knowledge that can go in and support the industry, because we believe that if we do so, we will actually win the customer tomorrow instead of just waiting behind. What we currently work on right now is that we see from a Nordic perspective that collaborating across the Nordic the past year, and specifically looking into transparency and traceability, we could see that across the 25 companies that we pulled out of Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, we could see that they gained momentum within 4 different business models when they worked specifically with transparency. So not just living up to legislation, but actually building business. And we could see that with the traceability side of it, when they are transparent, they win more customers. We could see that they build trust to their consumers because they increase authenticity with this traceability. We could also see that circularity became something they could do. With the data that was used to create actions, to be more transparent, they could link beyond not just where did things come from, but where did they actually go? They could link the products back to their brand or to third parties and actually starting to close that loop.
Mm.
And the last part was the new revenue stream. One question I keep coming back to is that when I went to business school, one thing was, get to a mass production because then you can cut cost. But right now we're looking into the question, how can we sell more but produce less? And that's not an equation I learned at business school, at least. So this is very interesting to see how can we start maybe utilizing digital assets, digital twins, and digital experiences, because at least in the Nordic, we are exceptional at building brands. So we can use this data, digital tools, traceability to unlock new business opportunity that drives revenue. So we have money to do changes with.
I mean, I always want to bring it back to the brands, and I feel like we want to help the brands, want to help the industry in this work, in kind of crafting these different scenarios that you talk about. What does the dialogue look like with industry for you? What does the dialogue look like with the brands? How much insight do you get from that?
We stay really close to the brands because if we don't cater to their needs, there's no help, right? But also, it's our job to make sure that the funding that comes out normally comes out in a box that's sometimes not very suitable to the industry. So we really try to bridge the funding that the industry can reach out to. And we've seen a lot of the other industries, food, technology, they gain so much funding from EU, from national or other types of funding, investors. And here we're standing with a very soft industry where we order products and it takes long before they're out in the market. So we really try to stay close to them. We have about 800 companies that engage in our projects yearly. We have a lot of projects that raise specific funding for the brands as well. So we visit with them one-to-one, at least one or twice a year. We visit SIF, we visit 3 days of design. We go to all these places to really communicate and stay close to them. So we know what funding they need. And in that way, I feel like we can be, or we are, a good support to actually give them the sandbox that they sometimes need, because these transformations are new ways of working. And sometimes it's just, especially in crisis, it's just easier to go back to basic because you know where you're strong. But we can't let a good crisis come to waste. So I see right now that I feel like we really offer the companies money and resources for them to test, where should I place my next investment? What resources should I bring in?
So talk about how does that work? How does one brand interact with you guys and get support?
Yep. Okay. So very basic.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's free of charge to be a member of our organization. You become not a member, but a dialogue company, and that's very important word for us because it's a dialogue. And then you get access to it. You either reach out to Frederik Lone, some of my coworkers, or you engage on our newsletter. So it's not difficult at all. And then we get to learn you, and we try to navigate and really monitorize where can we find the funding and then support the need that you have. So in terms of digital product passport and data-driven decisions and all these topics that we have today, we've had a lot of companies saying that the digital product passport is a challenge and it's a new way of working. And here they are really good at their Excel spreadsheet, but how do they get it to the next level? So we raised together with two organizations out of Sweden and two organizations out of Norway. We raised 16 million kroners to support brands out of the Nordics the next 3 years to build this digital product passport. So I'm really happy to see
Wonderful.
that money are coming out to the companies.
Resources to be found. I want to get back to kind of the headline of this session, and this is something I'm not sure we're going to solve it in this session, but I feel the issue must be raised. And I see this in a way, I'm trying to do this with this event. I'm trying to I'm kind of traveling circus with Transformation Conference, but there is kind of a challenge to communicate and organize around these issues on a Nordic level. At the same time, I hear so many conversations with people in organizations like yourselves and other players as well, that if we come together as the Nordics, because we have so much innovation happening in the Nordics, so much good ideas, so much good technology, so much strong brands, that we could actually be a stronger force together in Europe and in the world. Would you agree to that assessment, both of you, Anna Marie?
Yes, I think so. Sometimes it can even be quite overwhelming as a brand to simply navigate in the complexity of all the
Right.
different projects and IT solutions providers, etc. But how do you find the best project that suit your needs and where you get value out from? So I think it can be quite overwhelming, and I think that's also one of the recognition for why we have been calling for this action plan, because how do we make sure that in Denmark we build on what we are good at, in Sweden that we build on that what we are good at, because we cannot for each small country find the solution for everything, because the transformation is so complex. So we need to link up with good partners that can solve one problem, then another one can solve another problem. And I think we're good at that in the Nordics, to find that kind of collaboration. And I think some of the projects that you just spoke to illustrate that this is something that we're good at and can possibly also become better at. I don't know.
We have to recognize that brands have to wake up every morning and run their business. So that's not, first on their agenda. Oh, I have to call a similar brand in Sweden and set up a meeting. So I think that's a place where we see that we bring value to the industry. The transformation is bigger than one brand. So they are open and eager and really looking to listen to other brands that they can mirror themselves in and figure out, all right, what did you do? All right, let's share. And I believe that these platforms that we are creating, the volunteer sector collaboration has created this trust among, I believe we're up to almost 60 brands now that volunteer, come in and share, all right, I did this and you did that. All right, what can we build on? And we see that we have the ambition with the partners around the volunteer sector collaboration that we want to bring that out in the Nordics as well. From the Nordic Blockchain Alliance, it wasn't, a couple of months into the projects, we really found that the brands that want to move on this agenda, they're really hungry for other brands to mirror themselves in. And when we come across the Nordics, the ambition became higher because they found new ideas in a similar brand that was just out of Finland instead. So I'm really happy that funding and opportunities are created for the Nordics to meet, and that we can help the brands so they can do their business case and we can make sure to bridge this knowledge. They shouldn't be spending time on setting up meetings and figuring out that.
Yeah, I mean, on that note, I want to before we close out for the break, I want to pick your brain on something. And when I speak to some of the tech companies that wants to interact with the fashion industry, they are experiencing a kind of a confusion as to whom to speak to in a fashion brand. Who are they addressing? The level of knowledge of technology is maybe not that high in a fashion brand. As you say, they wake up every morning focused on their business. They have to survive and whatnot in a difficult economy and so forth. They don't wake up thinking about how do I put a bunch of millions in R&D of digital product passport or whatever. So, but kind of an open question, but there's something to the fact that we need to create more bridges between fashion and tech, and just generally both your thoughts on this and maybe how you can help with that.
First of all, with all due respect, if we go back not even 10 years, it wasn't very common that a competing fashion brand would talk to a competing fashion brand.
Right.
So I think we have to recognize that the textile industry is starting to talk to the textile industry. So mark on that. That's a happy go forward thing. We're starting to share creativity and ideas to move forward. The second other thing we have to respect, it's not more than 10, 15 years ago that the industry didn't believe that a product could sell online. No, 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 you have to go to the store. You have to touch, you have to feel the products. Otherwise, they won't buy it. Today, we're on a different agenda. So the industry is extremely creative. Very few brands have an IT manager that you can call up and set up a meeting and show all your solutions. Everybody wants more ideas, more solutions. So continue reaching out to all of us and let us help build that bridge, but also maybe show a little humility around that the industry is really curious and building the language to speak to tech. Yeah.
Yes, I also want to thank you for highlighting that. And I think we need to recognize the business climate as that we are in right now as well. It is different times. We see companies, not earning the profit that they have planned for, etc. At the same time, there's this push for transformation, and at least what we experience from our side is that the resources, sustainability and circularity is very, very complex. So one thing is IT and tech, but you have, that's one corner of the sustainability agenda. It's a facilitator. You have so many other items that you need to work on. So within the companies, we see a tendency of focusing a lot on compliance and pricing, and then there's the space for innovation becomes much smaller, and that's a risk because we need to find the solution in the innovation space, and that's why collaboration is important, and it's why that's a key task for organizations such as ours in order to remind the fashion industry about the importance of innovation and also trying to create spaces and forests where that innovation and collaboration can happen.
But a big shout out to tech brands. Please contact us. We try all the time. Nordic Blockchain Alliance made a huge map of blockchain solutions, so you can go in and see, all right, here are the 4 blockchain solutions you use for authenticity and stuff. So we try all the time to kind of map out, and we really want to bridge. So, please, I think next week I have 5 different meetings with digital product passport solutions. So we really try to meet with the industry and translate into the industry what's available.
The door is open. Marie Busck, Heidi Svane, thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Thank you so much.